The performance truck market really only has two competitors in it. You have, of course, the Ford Raptor, which pretty much started this whole segment. Before the Raptor, there were performance trucks. Sure, you had the old style F-150 Lightnings, you had the Ram SRT 10s with the Viper V10, but those weren't meant to do off-road. Those were strictly street trucks that had a lot of power. They did massive burnouts, and they were just meant to sort of be mall crawlers, sort of just performance trucks on the street. But now with the Raptor, when Ford decided to revolutionize the market in 2010, they created basically a whole new segment of truck. And you know, it's been probably the most successful truck in a long time. I mean, people love the Raptor. You know, the first generation was great. The second generation is probably the most popular. But of course, other automakers saw this, and they couldn't just let the Raptor stand by and get all this credit and, you know, make all this money for Ford. They had to do something. Chevrolet didn't do anything. They created a version of the Silverado that was just basically an off-road, but it had no performance. It wasn't crazy or anything. Ram, on the other hand, said, all right, Ford, you got to take it slow. Let's see what we can do. So they created this. And if you don't know what this is by some weird way, this is a Ram TRX, which means that it's got about 700 horsepower underneath the hood from a certain very popular muscle car engine that is known as the Hellcat. So yes, the Ram TRX utilizes the Hellcat supercharged V8 motor that's in the Challengers and Chargers, because Ram basically said, well, if we can't really beat Ford when it comes to the popularity of the Raptor because it's been around for so long, let's try to one-up it by putting a V8. Because you guys have to remember, up until now, until the Raptor R, the only V8 option that the Raptor ever had was the first gen, which ran from about 2010 to like 2015-16, because the second generation only had the 3.5 EcoBoost, and even the new third generation Raptor only has the EcoBoost. The Raptor R is the one with the supercharged V8. But of course, the reason why Raptor R was created is because of this thing, because this really gave the Raptor a run for its money. But honestly, I think the TRX is just one of the meanest looking trucks. I mean, it's big, it's bulgy, it just has a bunch of just aggressiveness to it, and especially in black. It looks super mean, super aggressive. But of course, it is, people call it a regular Ram, but it's basically a Ram 1500 on steroids, right? So we have a redesigned front hood. Of course, it does say 6.2 liter supercharged because, you know, it is. You have a redesigned front bumper, basically, and front grille, which looks a lot more aggressive. The big Ram logo in the front, sort of like how Ford has their Ford logo. You do have redesigned fenders. As you guys can see, this truck is really, really wide. And of course, that's meant to be because it does have these massive and wide tires. These are Wrangler Goodyear tires, which are basically meant, you know, it's in the same concept as the Raptor. It's fast on the road, but can also go climb that mountain. And we'll talk about that later. But the truck also does sit on Bilstein shocks. So as you guys can see, it is sort of, I don't want to say lifted, but it is basically, there's the Bilstein shocks. As you guys can see, they're specifically made for this truck. The Raptor does use Fox shocks. It's up to your personal preference. I have found that the Fox shocks in the Raptor do ride a little bit more comfortable. I've driven this truck for probably like 5 minutes, but we're really going to see that once we get it out on the road and test it. But coming around the rear, again, the really wide rear arches, we do have those awesome rear dual tips, which I'm going to throw in a video right here of what this thing sounds like cold. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. I mean, cold start in this thing is nasty, and this is a stock exhaust. It's not modified, it's not anything. But of course, you do have the big Ram logo around the back, and honestly, that's pretty much it for the exterior. You know, it's modified to where it looks aggressive, but it's still pretty much a Ram 1500, which is kind of what the Raptor does. They do change stuff on the Raptor, but at the end of the day, it's still an F-150. But let's go ahead and take a look at that interior, because that's kind of where they, you know, stepped it up. So looking at this interior, this is really where Ram went to town when it came to the difference between this and the 1500. Of course, you know, not counting the motor, because that's the whole point of this truck. But the interior is really nice, obviously. So you do have custom seats made for the TRX. They are very nicely bolstered, and they are leather, of course, with a bunch of stitching and everything. And they do have some suede. So there's suede right there There's some suede right there, as you guys can see right there. So it is a really nice seat. It does hug you in pretty well, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's still very comfortable because, I mean, they're not going to put bucket seats in this truck because at the end of the day, it is a truck that you can utilize every day. But looking at the door cards, you do have a lot of high quality materials. You have stitching everywhere, leather. You do have carbon fiber. This truck does have that option. Again, suede. It's a very nice feeling interior, and hopping in it, obviously it's very easy. It's a big truck, so you have a good amount of room in here. To fire it up, you basically just need to have the key anywhere on you, foot on the brake, and push that big red start engine button. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, that 6.2 does not disappoint. But looking at this interior, it is a very, very nice place to be, honestly. So full leather stitch dash everywhere, of course. You do have the carbon fiber up here. It goes around the whole dash as well. The steering wheel is honestly really nice as well. I do like how they did Alcantara and leather, and they put the Alcantara on the top and on the bottom, the least amount where you're going to use it. That's why the Alcantara doesn't look destroyed, because if it was here, it would be destroyed because you drive like this, right? Of course, it is sort of a, I want to say, race steering wheel. As you guys can see, it is very aggressively, you know, bolstered. You do have the paddle shifters on the back, and these are actually split. They're pretty cool paddle shifters. You guys can see, if you're driving like this, right, you can push this one, or if you have your hand down here, you can literally just push it like that. So that's pretty cool that they did that, that they're split. It does give you a little bit more of easier way to use it and access. And looking up there, of course, you do have redesigned gauges for the TRX. It does say TRX up there. And then the font's sort of black and red, and it does rev to about almost 6,000, which is pretty good for a massive truck with a massive V8, right? Looking at this of course is the ultimate screen you could get in the Rams. So this is the big, sort of their version of Ford Sync 4 big screen that's in the Raptor. It is vertical. I have seen a bunch of people say that you either like it or you don't. It's just personal preference. I think it's pretty cool with the way they designed it, and I do like how all the buttons are on the side. So of course, you guys know me, I'm not a big fan of when they utilize buttons within here for like the climate control, and this one does pretty good. It is all buttons up here, and of course you can, this is also touchscreen, so you could click home. It'll do everything, media, comfort. It is relatively quick. I do wish it was a little bit quicker. There is some lag at some points, like as you guys can see when I click between comfort, it's not too bad. Nav takes a while to load. So it's not the quickest system out there. I do think that Ford Sync 4 system is a little bit quicker than this truck's, but nonetheless, the Uconnect system in the Dodge is pretty good, and it's easily to, you know, very easy to use. So of course you do have a bunch of settings in here that you can mess. You can basically control the whole truck through this interface, which is cool. But of course, this is really where all the magic happens, right? So you do have this. If you push this, it's basically TRX mode. So it pops up your Hellcat, you know, Dodge mode thing that they have in like the Challengers and Chargers. And when you push it, it basically allows you to configure the settings of the truck. So if you put it in sport mode, it'll turn everything into sport. You have the transmission, the paddle shifters, the suspension, everything. Of course, tow mode, we'll put it into tow mode, snow mode, same thing. We'll leave it in sport mode because that's the fun way to drive it, right? And of course, it does also have Baja mode and all that, kind of like all the other sort of performance trucks do. Like the Raptor has their own. I kind of like the way on the Raptor it's designed, because when you turn it, you know, it does all those little graphics. It'll show you like a Raptor in the sand, in the snow and all that. This one's just kind of basic, but I mean, it gets the job done, right? So that's all we really need it to do. So down here, you do have some more auxiliary buttons for whatever you hook them up to, lights or whatnot. Traction control, very fun button, of course, and then all your other stuff. Trailer brake control, pretty cool. This here, on the other hand, as I showed you guys, when you click the TRX mode, it takes you to the performance dashboard. When you do these, it'll let you actually switch between the modes. So you don't have to click them. You could just, you know, kind of go like that and it'll switch. And they do give you the graphics up there. I just kind of wish that they weren't sort of how they are in here. I kind of wish they were like the ones in the Raptor where they'll actually show like it's a little actual graphic, if that makes any sense. But it is what it is. It's pretty cool. You do have your controllables down here. So forward drive, auto, it's always going to be in that. You can't put it into two-wheel drive. And of course, there is a launch button as well, which is pretty cool. And we might have to try that out later. But looking at the center, you have some wireless charging, a bunch of power outlets down there. The shifter, I do like how it's an actual shifter, kind of like on the Raptor and not one of the, you know, up here, just because it's gives a little bit more of a performance-oriented feel, in my opinion. Cup holders, and of course you do get this really cool Ram TRX like plaque right here that basically tells you supercharged, 702 horsepower. It gives you the VIN number of your specific truck, the amount of boost it makes, and then what kind of supercharger. So that's pretty cool. But underneath here you do have some more storage, and that will give you some kind of, you know, it's like sort of like a ruler or whatnot, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's cool that Dodge does that. Of course you do have some more down here. But yeah, honestly, the interior is pretty nice in this truck. You do also get a digital rear view mirror. Of course, if you flick it down, it does become just a regular mirror. You flick it up, it's a digital one. That's pretty cool. Full panoramic sunroof, which the Raptor also has. And of course, that's pretty much it, honestly. Down here, you do have some more storage over there, kind of like on the Fords, and then the glove box, of course. But honestly, pretty basic interior in terms of, it's not like, but honestly, it is a pretty nice interior in here. It's nothing, you know, out of the ordinary. It's exactly what you'd expect in a very expensive truck like this, and, you know, the highest, basically the highest trim on the Ram. But I know what you guys are here for. You're here to see that motor, and you're here to see this thing drive. So let's go ahead and check out that engine, and let's see what it's like. So, I mean, I was gonna say unfortunately, but I guess the actual hood scoop is functional, so that's good. But Dodge throws this massive freaking like plastic cover up here, so it kind of sucks because you kind of need to like mess around to look at the motor from the side and whatnot. But nonetheless, this, as I said, is a 6.2 liter supercharged V8. You know, name is Hellcat. Pretty much, it's what comes in the Challengers and all that. This particular one makes about 702 horsepower and a buttload of torque. That's all I'm going to say. But you know, fuel economy. It's not good, let's just say. I just noticed on the inside, it said the average fuel economy of the previous driver was about 9. So, you know, take that as you will. But I mean, what do you guys expect, right? This is a massive truck. It weighs a lot. And of course, it's got a supercharged V8 with 700 horsepower. What do you guys expect? I mean, it's going to be a lot of, you know, not very good gas mileage. But I mean, that's to be expected. And let's be honest here, you're not buying this truck for gas mileage. You would go buy a hybrid F-150 if you were looking for gas mileage, right? But this thing is awesome. It makes great noises. That supercharger whine is insane. You guys will hear. And then, of course, it's also just a fast performance truck. And, of course, we all love that, right? The Raptor, the Ram, we love all these trucks. Doesn't matter which one you prefer. They're all great. And the fact that we have these trucks is awesome. But let's go ahead and hop in that driver's seat. Let's fire up this supercharged Hellcat motor. And let's take it for a ride and see what it can do. So the Ram TRX, how is it? Well, it's like that. That, I gotta say, that supercharger whine is just, it's glorious. It is exactly what this truck is trying to be, right? This is a muscle car truck, guys. I mean, this is not, it's not trying to portray itself as a fuel saver, as eco-friendly, because it is none of those things. It gets 9 miles to the gallon. It has a massive supercharger. It makes 700 horsepower. It's none of those things. This thing is a monster, and I am so glad that Dodge built this because it kind of forced Ford to build the Raptor R. And I'm so glad they built that because the Raptor R sounds glorious as well, that supercharged V8. Unfortunately, I feel like this is going to be the last generation of these high-performance trucks. And the reason I say that is all we have to do is take a look at what Dodge is doing, right? So Dodge announced that 2023 will officially be the last year of the Challenger Hellcat, the Charger Hellcat, etc. And that's sad. It really is, because they're glorious cars, they're high-performance machines, and they're designed to basically do exactly what you would expect them to do. High power, massive torque, you know, just big cars because they're muscle cars, right? And unfortunately, I also feel like that I think this is going to be the one generation that Ford's going to build the Raptor R. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I think the Raptor R moniker might stay around. I don't think it's going to be supercharged anymore. I think that they might start seeing hybrid, maybe electric, because it's just the way the world's going. But I mean, we're not here to talk about depressing things like that. We are here to talk about the glorious TRX. And first things first, I gotta say, it drives really good. I mean, it's exactly what you'd want. As I said, supercharger whine, you have, you know, you hear that nice exhaust in the rear, and it all sounds great. And It does exactly what you would want it to do. I mean, that's why you buy this truck, right? Is because you want a truck that could go off-road. It's got a lot of power. It's got, you know, it sounds great, and that's what it's for. But I guess the one thing I have to say that I'm not the biggest fan of is I think the Raptor has a nicer interior than the TRX. And, you know, that may just be personal preference. Some people may disagree with me. I just feel like the Raptor does have a nicer interior than the TRX does in terms of just the way everything's built. You know, I feel like the sync system is a lot easier to use, and it's just, it feels a little bit higher quality. But all in all, of course, this also has a very nice interior, but we do need to do a little acceleration here because I want you guys to hear, you know, that supercharger. So 1, 2, 3. Woo-hoo! Guys, a truck of this size should not move like this. This thing is awesome. I mean, it's so good. But as we were saying in the interior, I do feel like the Raptor does have a nicer interior. By all means, this is a nice place to be. I just feel like some of the things in here, they could be a little bit better. And what I'm referring to is like the Uconnect system. And as I mentioned, the Sync 4 systems feels just quicker to use, and it feels more user-friendly. Whereas this one, it's sort of more, I mean, if you live with it, of course, you're gonna get used to it and it's gonna be easy. But all in all, I just feel like the Raptor does have more of that modern touch, because also the Raptor has a full digital display. You know, we're seeing things move that way. And of course, you could be, so I kind of sometimes prefer analog gauges, but in terms of like, if you're gonna go either half like digital and half you know, analog, just go full digital or just go full analog. I mean, it's nice that, you know, they do what they do, and I do like the fact that you can customize the center of this one, but the Raptor's one is just more customizable, and everything you do is just much more, how do I say, usable, right? Because when you switch to drive modes, it switches the look of the gauges, it does everything. While these gauges, they just kind of stay the same, and it doesn't really do much. I mean, it just tells you in a different mode, which is like, that's okay, that's cool, but how come I can't be in a, you know, in the mode that I kind of want to be on the dash? And while when you switch the mode on this truck, it does look kind of cool, you know, you get the performance gauges and everything up, and you could see it, but I just feel like it's not like it's, you know, customizable as the Raptor is. And I think that's something Dodge could definitely improve on, but I mean, that's just my stint. Also, while at first I thought I would be a big fan of these paddle shifters, I kind of don't like them. And you guys are gonna say, oh, Raptor fanboy and everything, because I'm praising the Raptor. I'm not saying the Raptor's the best truck ever made. I'm just saying that there's certain aspects of this truck that I'm just not a big fan of. I'm critiquing the truck, right? So yeah, I gotta say the paddle shifters in the Raptor are better because they're full paddle shifters. And at first when I saw these, I was like, oh, this is cool because you can, you know, use different versions of it. Well, it's not, because the top one, the way I hit my hand rest on the steering wheel is, I'm at a 9 in 3 position right now, right? And I'm touching the volume button. I'd have to move my fingers up, and while yeah, that's a first world problem, so I gotta move my finger up to shift my 700 horsepower truck. The fact of the matter is, it's inconvenient, and I just kind of wish they had gone with full paddle shifters. It kind of would be nicer. I'm assuming there might be an aftermarket way to do it. I would think so. You know, you could change steering wheels, but I just think that if they had done a full paddle shifter, it'd be cool. This is cool, the way it looks is cool. It's just, I don't think the design is very user-friendly, if that makes any sense to you guys. But by all means, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear, you know, your opinions on it. But all in all, like I said, the interior is nice. I just kind of feel like they could have done a little bit more to differentiate it from just, you know, a basic or like even a nice Ram. Because while in the Raptor, you know, you do get those big bolstered. But yeah, overall the interior is pretty nice. I do like it. It's just minor stuff, and it is very torquey. I mean, this thing loves to go, man. But that transmission also, it is a ZF 8-speed, and it shifts really well, especially in sport mode. It's very quick. But the one thing I'm not a big fan of is sometimes when you're driving in a like regular mode, there's a big delay between when you push the pedal, and I would say it's probably like a second or two delay between when you push it and it kind of finally, you know, starts accelerating hard. So that could be something. I'm assuming tuning could fix that, but I mean, or you could just drive it in sport mode and it eliminates that risk, which is pretty cool. But overall, I gotta say, I am a bigger fan of this motor than I am of the Raptor's 3.5 EcoBoost. I have yet to drive a Raptor R, but from what I've heard, it's glorious. And I mean, I've driven plenty of GT500s, so if it's anything like that, I know I'm gonna love that truck. But in terms of comparing this truck to the regular Raptor, this is definitely the one I would pick because I prefer the motor, the V8, right? I've always been a V8 kind of guy, and while the EcoBoost in the Raptor is cool and it's got a good amount of power, it's just, when you hear this one, it just changes. It changes your perspective on these muscle trucks, because think about it, the old school Lightning, supercharged V8, big power, and the Raptor, while it's quick, and you can make it pretty quick with tunes because it's, you know, twin turbo EcoBoost, so it's easy tunable, the sound just isn't there. And it doesn't matter what exhaust you do, it'll never, ever sound as good as that. I just don't think it will, because supercharged V8, a glorious supercharger whine. But I am super excited to drive a Raptor R. I cannot wait. I wish I could do a side-by-side comparison right now with one of them, but just can't. So all in all, I think it's awesome that we have a truck like this, basically that's here to give the Raptor a run for its money, because you know, competition breeds excellence, and the fact that basically this truck just forced, you know, Ford to build the Raptor R is awesome. So thank you, Dodge. And yeah, I am a big oh, I'm just like a kid. I'm literally a kid with this truck. It sounds so good. That whine is insane. So getting on the highway here, I kind of want to just show you guys what this thing drives like on the highway, because I know it's a big thing with these, you know, basically mud grabber tires. How does this thing drive? Because if it's too loud, or if it doesn't, you know, if it's not comfortable, then a lot of people might get disheartened by it. And to be fair, again, guys, you're not buying this truck because you want quiet. I mean, you hear that exhaust. But honestly, it drives pretty good in terms of, like, we're up to speed now, and it's solid. I mean, as you'd expect from a $100,000 truck. It doesn't, you know, there's not a lot of play in the steering wheel. I mean, there's no play in the steering wheel at all. And it's solid. I mean, well, actually, I shouldn't say there's a little bit of play in the steering wheel, but again, to be expected. You have these massive, basically 35, I believe the 35, 37 inch tires. So there is going to be some noise, some, you know, a little bit of wiggle in the steering wheel, but I mean, that's just how it is. It is a performance off-road truck. So this thing will dominate, you know, on the street. It's very quick, it's very fast. The only thing that I must say that I know this truck is kind of losing when it comes to the Raptor is the weight. So this truck does weigh more, and typically Dodges always seem to weigh more. Even when it comes to the Challengers versus the Mustangs, the Challenger's a lot heavier, and it's the case with this one as well. But I mean, again, that's why it has this much power and that much torque, because the way the ZF works, guys, is when it shifts, when you first floor it, you're like, oh, this isn't that crazy, and then it shifts and you feel the boost kick on again, and you're like, oh my god, this thing's going even more. So it's just got this characteristic of being just a monster. I mean, the more you hold the pedal down, the faster it's going, obviously, but it's so much fun to drive. I love it. It's loud, it's in your face, it's brash. This truck is basically, this is George Washington drinking Jack Daniels while playing a banjo while a bald eagle is sitting on his on his shoulder. That's what this truck is, man. Oh, it's so good. It's so glorious. And I can't wait for the Raptor R until I can do one, because I know that truck's gonna be so good as well. You know, that it's just, there's something about a supercharged V8 and a truck that just belongs together. While, you know, the twin turbo EcoBoost is quick, don't get me wrong, it's a quick truck, and that 10-speed is very quick. That Raptor R with the Predator motor is going to be a monster. I mean, 710 horsepower. I am super excited. But let me know down below, you guys. I'd love to hear, what do you guys think about the TRX? Do you guys think I'm being too hard on it? Or do you guys think I'm right about some stuff? Because the truck's not bad. I'm not saying this is a horrible truck. I'm just saying that it could have been better. You know, there's some stuff that could have been changed. But all in all, this is definitely a worthy competitor to the Raptor. And let me know down below what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy.